excited that you're excited about healing and improving your body and learning new ways to do that. As we go through this today, this presentation, first I would love to make you guys aware of who Laser Recovery Institute is and our core values. First off, we are empowered through education. Our goal is to not only provide you high quality products, but to be able to educate you in ways of healing your mind and your body so that you can have a life of health. We are driven by compassion. All of our interactions, all of our therapy sessions is all driven by compassion and care for you, for ourselves, and really focusing on improving one's health. We are evidence-driven in healing. We are grounded in science. We use research-backed laser technologies to deliver safe and effective results. We're grounded in holistic health, believing that treating the whole person and not just the symptoms, mind and body, and the spirit matter here, all that matters. And innovating with integrity. We're committed to staying on cutting edge technology so we can continually improve and provide you with the best education that we can give and also the best products. To the history of lasers, I'm going to turn the time over to my beautiful wife, Brittany.
Here to talk about lasers and their history. It's kind of a fascinating journey, but it started from scientific curiosity that blossomed into a tool that we know today as a laser. So in 1917, who I call the GOAT of innovation, Albert Einstein, wrote a paper on the quantum theory of radiation and introduced the concept of simulated emission, which is defined as the process where an excited atom, when struck by a photon, releases a second identical photon to the photon that did the striking. So for decades, this principle remained in the realm of physics theory until the technology caught up about 40 years later. So we fast forward to the 1950s, where physicists Charles Townes and Arthur Schawlow were working on a device that could amplify microwaves through simulated emission, the maser, which is short for microwave amplification by simulated emission and radiation, which is a mouthful, so I'm just going to refer to it as maser. So the maser was successfully built in 1953. This was a key milestone in building a laser. However, at the time, it only worked with microwaves, so no visible light. And then 5 years later, in 1958, those same two scientists, Townes and Schawlow, theorized that maser could be applied to light waves. They even published a paper proposing how the maser could amplify visible light, which promoted the race to build the first working laser. So not 2 years later, in 1960, the first laser was built by Theodore Milan at Hughes Research Laboratory in California. Milan used a synthetic ruby crystal and a flashlight to produce a coherent red beam of light, the first ever successful laser. Not surprisingly, the scientific community was initially skeptical, as scientists are. They want everything to be proven, right? So that changed, though, quickly within inside of a few years, as many different kinds of lasers came out. There was gas lasers, semiconductors, dyes, other crystals that were being used, and more. They were developed, and each with their own properties and applications. So then sometime in the early 1960s, lasers began moving from the lab to more real-world applications. And then in 1964, the CO2 laser was invented, which proved incredibly helpful for cutting and welding metals. At the same time, the helium neon lasers became popular in education and research due to their ease of operation and low cost. So then by the late 1960s, laser technology was everywhere. In optical disc technology, telecommunication, barcode scanners, hemolography, light shows, and in movies used as futuristic weapons, making it seem like it was far removed from real-world applications. However, over the next 10 years, much research was taking place on how to better use and advance the lasers and their technology to put them into a more real-life application to benefit human life. So during the 1970s and 1980s, lasers became increasingly important in medicine and defense. In medicine, lasers were used for eye surgery, now known as LASIK, which has restored vision for millions of people. It has also begun being used in dentistry, oncology, dermatology, and exploring applications for treatments and diagnosis. At the same time, so during the 70s and 80s, the medical industry was finding advancements in laser technology as well as our military. They explored high-power lasers for missile defense and range finding. Although many of those findings are classified, still the precision of laser targeting systems quickly became essential for our modern military operations. Then came the digital revolution. One of the most transformative uses of lasers emerged during the 1980s and 90s with the innovation of the digital data storage and communication. Lasers became the heart of technologies like CDs, for us oldies, DVDs, Blu-ray, and on and on. In telecommunications, fiber optics allowed for data to travel vast distances at the speed of light. Without lasers, we wouldn't have access to much knowledge like we do now. It would not be at our fingertips like it is. And our modern communication would cease to exist as we know it, if it existed at all. And then I guess that brings us to today. What are real world uses now? Today, lasers, they're all around us. They're in our homes, they're in our cars, hospitals, factories. They're used to cut metal with precision, perform delicate surgeries, scan groceries. I do that probably daily. And then just entertain us, from movies in the theaters with projectors to light shows at a concert, as well as playing a huge role in fields like quantum communication, LiDAR mapping, autonomous vehicles, and of course, space exploration. Then there are the medical applications that are evolving today. We're learning more and more and more all the time about the outstanding benefits and possibilities of lasers, from wound healing to pain relief to neurotherapies, which is our main topic of research at Laser Recovery Institute. We'll hear more about exactly how that all works from our neuroscientist and neurologist. From 1917 to the first working laser in 1960, we have come a long way as far as laser research is concerned. It took over a century to get it right, but we're there. Lasers have gone from being a solution looking for a problem to one of the most versatile and transformative technologies that we've ever created. As a company, though, we are choosing to focus on the medical benefits, which are many, and we will go into that further as we plan to help the average person learn how to use the lasers, as well as how to heal themselves from many mental and physical problems with lasers. So.